Hello witches, wizards, and those who are yet to receive their Hogwarts school letters. Welcome to my Harry Potter kitchen. This is a YouTube series where I'm baking my way through the Harry Potter books, making recipes for all the food and drink featured inside. If you missed last week's recipe for our Hogwarts house-inspired jacket potatoes, then check out the link down below in the description to catch up. But it's Magic Monday, so let's see what's up next. Are you a fan of all things Harry Potter and do you want a bite of the wizarding world? Well, if so, you don't want to miss a thing from my Harry Potter kitchen, so make sure you click that subscribe button and on the notification bell so you get an alert every Monday when there is a brand new video. Speaking of which, let's get back to the book. Okay, so we are back at the Great Hall for the Halloween feast, and Professor Quirrell has just run in to let them know there is a troll in the dungeon, but unfortunately there's no more food for this chapter. As you might know from the books, Harry and Ron run off to find Hermione and end up battling the troll in the bathrooms. They do get caught by the teachers at the end of it, but they get some house points for their bravery, which is a good show all round. And that's the end of that chapter, so we're going to jump on over to the next chapter, which is Quidditch. And this is all about Harry's first game against the Slytherins. Unfortunately, there's no new recipes in this chapter either. There is a mention of food, sausages and toast, but we've already made those earlier on in the series, so check out the link down below for the playlist to catch up if you missed them. So we're going to jump on right over to chapter 12, which is the Mirror of Erised, and this is all about Christmas time at Hogwarts, which, as you can imagine, is going to be absolutely beautiful. And speaking of beautiful things, I can see our next recipe. They sat by the hour eating anything they could spare on a toasting fork. Bread, which we made before, crumpets. It's time to make some breakfast treats. For this recipe, you will need 200 milliliters of water, 200 milliliters of milk, 1 teaspoon of caster sugar, 14 grams of fast action dry yeast, 300 grams of strong white bread flour, half a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, half a teaspoon of salt, and some oil for frying. Crumpets are an amazing breakfast treat, similar to a round bread roll, but it's so much more light and fluffy, and they have loads of holes inside, which means when you heat them up, spread over the butter, all that melted butter oozes inside, and they are just incredible. So I can't wait to make them for you today, but it's my Harry Potter kitchen, so we need to take this to the next level, and that is to make some lightning bolt crumpets. Now, it's very, very difficult to find some lightning bolt cutters that you can use for this one, so a little bit of magic. I'm going to show you how you can turn a little tin can into a crumpet mold. To begin, you need to get yourself some empty drink cans. Make sure you give them a good wash out, as we're going to be using them to cook with. Start off by piercing a small hole at the top of the can. Then take some scissors and work your way around to remove the top. You'll then want to cut all the way down the side of the can towards the bottom, and then work your way around to release the bottom itself. Next up, you want to spend a bit of time cleaning up the edges just to make sure they're nice and flush. Next, you want to get yourself a ruler or something with a long straight edge and measure about 2 centimeters along the strip of aluminium. Then take your scissors again to cut out these strips. You should get at least 2 per can. Next, you want to fold the top edge of each of the strips just to reinforce it and make it easier to handle afterwards. Try to get this as neat as possible along each strip. After that, I like to run over it with the ruler or palette knife just to reinforce the crease. Keep doing this along the back and front of your strips to even them out. At this point, you can decide on the shape that you want, and of course we are going for the lightning bolt shapes, so I've made a stencil out of some cardboard. Then it's just the job of taking your strips of tin and then wrapping it around your stencil, measuring where each one should be. Take your time to try and get these as neat as possible. I like to mark the point with a pen and then fold them in that position, remeasure against the stencil, mark down and fold again. Keep going as you work your way around the stencil. There will come a point when you run out of tin on your strip, so all you need to do is get yourself another strip and some glue, carefully tuck them into one another and secure them. Press it down until it's dried and then keep working your way around. When you get to the end, all you need to do is trim the last strip and then glue that in place as well. Once you're finished, you should have at least 2 lightning bolt cutters, and if you've got any spare tin, then you can also make some smaller ones as well. So this does take a little bit of time and it can be a bit fiddly. Do remember, it is very sharp as well. So if there's any kids watching, please get an adult to help you do this, as we don't want anybody to cut themselves. It would be the magical way. But once you have got these done, this technique can help you make a cutter for any shape you like, which is really, really useful to know, both for this or for cookies or icing cakes as well. So once all your cutters are ready to go, it's time to move on to making the batter. To begin, we're going to place a saucepan on a medium heat and warm up our water and our milk. Sprinkle over your sugar and stir it until it's dissolved. Once it's warm but not boiling, you can pour it into a heat-proof jug and then sprinkle over your yeast. Give this a good whisk until it's well combined. We're then going to pop this to one side for about 5 minutes until it goes nice and frothy. In the meantime, you can mix your dry ingredients, that's the flour, bicarbonate soda and salt, in a large bowl. Once the yeast mixture is ready, make a well in the middle and then pour it in. You then want to mix this really well, beating it together until it resembles a thick pancake batter. Once it's ready and there's no lumps left, cover it with cling film and then pop it into a warm place to rise for about an hour. Now, leaving your batter to rise is a really important step when making crumpets, probably even more important than when you're leaving your bread to rise, and that's because all of the structure from the crumpets and all those bubbles that are going to set inside come from this step, and then when we go to cook it. If you do it too soon, the bubbles won't have formed properly, the yeast won't have time to activate, and you'll end up with more of a flat bread. So make sure you give it the time that it needs. Judge it by eye, you should have seen it double in size, and all of those bubbles should be seen in the bowl before you go to cook it. Once your batter and your rings are ready, you can get yourself a frying pan and place it onto a medium heat. Then take your rings, or in this case our lightning bolt cutters, and make sure you grease them very, very well. This is going to prevent the crumpets from sticking. Place them down inside the frying pan and then fill them about halfway up. You don't want to overcrowd the pan, so just do 2 or 3 at a time. You want to cook these for 5 minutes on the first side, and this is where you're going to see the sides dry out a bit and those bubbles start to form. A few of them will pop and then fill up with batter straight away, but you want to keep on waiting until they pop and then hold their shape. After 5 minutes, you can see the structure holding, so you can take a palette knife and work your way around the lightning bolt to release it from the stencil. Then take some tongs and pull up the rings. All that's left to do is flip them over and allow them to finish cooking for 1 minute. Pop these to one side and then repeat the process with the rest of your batter. You want to make sure you clean out and re-oil your rings each time, just to make sure the new crumpets don't stick. Now, one of the great things about making homemade crumpets is the smell that will fill your kitchen, but what is even better is that you can make them in big batches and then just pop them in the freezer in the same day that you make them. Then whenever you feel a little craving for a crumpet, take them out, pop them in the toaster, and they will taste just as fresh as when you first made them. Give it a go and then you've got an endless supply of magical breakfast. Make sure the crumpets are nice and warm before you serve them, and then add on your favourite toppings. I've gone for the classic butter and raspberry jam. So there you go, a super magical way to start your day, and it isn't too bad once you've got those stencils done. Let me know down below in the comments if you made your own stencils, or what shape would you go for. That's all for this week's video, but if you want to see more from my Harry Potter kitchen, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the notification bell so you get an alert every Magic Monday when there is a brand new recipe. Have a magical week, and I'll see you next time.